We're recording now.
All right, thank you. So it is 6 p.m. and I call to order this first Sedro-Woolley City Council session of 2021. I am Mayor Julia Johnson, and those council members in attendance here with me are Glenn Allen, signified by letting me know. Yes, there you are. Okay.
Yes.
Chuck Owen. Brenda Kinzer. JoEllen Kesti. And Brendan McGoffin.
It won't let me do it. What is Bill's number?
I hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear us?
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's freezing and unfreezing. I can't do it. It won't let me put my video on either.
Okay. Well, we're
I'm
gonna
try and get out and come in.
So
okay.
Try to use just your audio for now.
And then Carl DeYoung. I see you, Carl. Hello.
This is Council Member Carl DeYoung, present.
So I'd like to welcome our candidates. I have seen come in Judith Dunn, Kevin Loy, Bill Holt, Jeanette Sosa, Corinne Hamburg, David Bates, Kim Leyland, Richard Waits, Sarah Diamond. I'm not sure if Joseph is Joseph Burns here? Joe Burns? I don't see him listed. Or Linda Markowitz. Okay, so maybe they'll join us a little later. Before we begin, the process here is what we're doing is we're going to be doing an interview and then also select our new council at large member. Before we begin, I want to kind of go over the way that this is structured, the way this meeting is structured. So first, we're going to begin by allowing each candidate 3 minutes to make a statement, followed by the council members each asking one question of each candidate. After that is completed, we'll move into executive session. And when we move into executive session, that's merely to evaluate the qualifications. We do not make any decisions in there. We just we evaluate the qualifications for the appointment of the office. And we'll come back out. I'll reopen the meeting, and then I will take nominations. And once all the nominations have been received, then I will proceed with the vote. And the way that this will work will be, say we have candidate A, B, and C. I'll ask for a vote for candidate A if we do not get a quorum, if we do not get enough votes. I will move on to candidate B. If candidate B gets 4 or more of the votes, which is what we need, 4 or more, then we will not move on to candidate C. So that's how this will proceed. Once this is done, we'll administer the oath of the office and we will have ourselves a new council member at large. So that's how this is going to go. So we will begin this process, and I believe that we kind of took these each as they had come in, and the first application to come in was Judith Dunn. So Judith, if you would like to take about 3 minutes and make a statement, you are welcome to start. Judith, you're muted. You need to unmute. Thank you. Okay. I still cannot hear you, Judith. Can anybody else hear her? Oh, the technology.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I would like to make a recommendation. One thing that worked for me is my mute unmute was freezing, so it took like 30 seconds to unmute. If I switched to active presenter only instead of the tab view with everybody shown, it was able to react much faster. I think other people are having that issue too.
Thank you. Thank you, Brendan. That's okay. Judith, would you like for us to, I can go on to the next candidate and we can come back if you would like. Well, is that a yes or a no? Okay. All right, Judith, we will do that. So the next candidate is Kevin Loy. And Kevin, if you're able, you're on.
Can you hear me?
We can, loud and clear.
Okay, my name, as she said, my name is Kevin Loy. And I'm retired nowadays, so I have plenty of time to get involved with the city council. I'm a former council member from a number of years ago. I was also on the planning commission for 8 total years. And I'm getting close to my 20th year as on the Skagit County Parks Board. So I've been around a little bit while. When I was a city councilman, I worked with the sheriff. I was actually the only active city councilman in the Skagit County that worked with the sheriff, and I would get speaking engagements and we'd go around promoting our new jail when we needed the jail and they couldn't put people in jail because there was no room. So I was quite active in representing Sedro-Woolley and getting the new jail put in. I also had all of our representatives, state senators from as you know, there's 3 districts that come together in Skagit County. So I invited them all to Skagit County and we went through the jail. I took each individual politician through the jail to get their legislative support to build a new jail in Skagit County. And it's also kind of interesting to me, Barbara Bailey, who was state senator at the time, she actually turned white. The Skagit County jail was such a bad place. Her face actually turned white. So she was for it all the way. So, but I've got time on my hand nowadays. I've got experience. When I was in the construction business, I actually built an effluent plant. So I have the basic knowledge for the sewer plant, have the basic knowledge for building roads and the basic knowledge for building. So then I've got the experience, the political experience from the county parks, Sedro-Woolley City Council, Sedro-Woolley Planning Commission. So I've got experience and have been around the block and have a lot of contacts that will do good for Sedro-Woolley. So I'm interested in, now that I'm retired, I'm interested in getting fired up again and getting back to work.
All right. Thank you. If it's okay, we'll have the council each ask a question of you, and I will begin. I'll start from the bottom to the top. So I'll start with you, Carl. Would you like to ask the first question?
Defer, thank you.
Do you have a question for Kevin?
I defer, thank you.
Oh, all right. So moving on
That was
to
an
Brenda
easy one.
McGoffin. Brendan, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Sorry, I didn't hear my name called. Thank you, Kevin. My question is, the city council recently decided to increase property taxes and utility rates as recommended by our city staff. In your opinion, was this the right decision and why?
Well, I'm not much of a second guesser. Once decisions have been made, the city council decided to raise property taxes, decided to raise utility taxes. So be it. On forward we go, and we'll worry about the future. What's past is past.
All right, thank you. JoEllen Kesti.
Okay, let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Kevin. Like many communities, Sedro-Woolley has tremendous amount of infrastructure needs, such as sidewalks, road repairs, etc. With our budget already being so tight, what would be your idea for new revenue to fund these needs?
Well, that's just, that's been a problem in Sedro-Woolley, well, everywhere for decades. I remember before I was on the city council, the debate was sidewalks and roads and curbs. Now the debate sidewalk, roads and curbs, and it's also a financial problem. When I was on the city council before, the city council instituted that $20 car tab price for every car in Sedro-Woolley to go towards the roads. So that was one way to do it. But the problem is the state legislature gives you certain sources of revenue, and that's all you got. I don't know what's left open. You can keep raising your utility tax or your gas tax or whatever, but you're limited on what you can do. And I'd have to figure out, talk to people to find out if there's anything else available besides raising taxes. So it's a question that everybody asks in every town in Skagit County, every town in Washington State, every town in the United States. It's a big problem. So far, I haven't found anybody that had the answer.
Okay, thank you. Brenda Kinzer.
Good evening, Kevin. Hi, thank you for being here tonight. I'm so glad you're here. My question tonight for you is, what do you think is the #1 issue that you feel city council should tackle hard, and how do you think they should do it?
Oh, I got a magic wand. Actually, the city's responsible #1 is public safety. It's police, fire, and sanitation, garbage, effluent plant. So those are the things that those are #1. Without those, you got big problems. So those are the 3 things. But I don't know if this fits in, but Sedro-Woolley has to create, one of the only ways to create more income, and I'm not saying additional, I'm saying more income, is attract business. You got to create a attractive business climate in Sedro-Woolley for companies to come to Sedro-Woolley. And you're not going to get Microsoft, and you're not going to get the big, you got to find 10, 12, 20, 30 person groups, and it's a major chore. I've worked a lot of trade shows and a few of them for Sedro-Woolley, like when they used to have that, I can't remember the name of it, but up at the Tulip warehouse up by the airport, used to have all the businesses come in.
Right.
You can't give up. The problem with so many things is, well, we're going to attract business, and they do it for 3 months and spend $3,000. Go, that's all, we can't do. It's got to be day to day to day, year to year to year, decade to decade to decade. You can't just do it for a few days or a few weeks or a few months. It's a full-time commitment from here to eternity.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
I don't know if I didn't know if I answered your question, but close enough.
Kevin, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Chuck Owen. Chuck, you're muted.
I've been muted all my life. Yeah, Kevin, you know that I'm an avid supporter of the senior center, and the city pays $26,054 in contract with senior services to staff that place, and you know that this COVID thing is pushing the Meals on Wheels to the limit. They're serving anywhere from 80 to 90 meals a day for 7 days a week, and I would imagine the meals now are about $7 or $8 a piece. So that's over $600 a day. They get a couple of little grants from the government, and they get a small fee from the county, but that don't support the Meals on Wheels. And what I'm getting at is if the senior center gets in trouble, with the Meals on Wheels and they can't make ends meet, would you be willing to get involved and find some monetary means to support the Meals on Wheels?
I always seem to, no matter what I say, I always seem to get involved in things. So, and you know, that's exactly what it's going to take. You know, the senior center does a very important job. You know, the senior center attracts mainly, you know, senior centers that their health is not as good, so they can't do as much stuff. So the senior center is very important, and we cannot lose that thing. But that's where you're headed. Exactly, kind of what you're talking about is. We're just going to have to form groups and do different projects or find ways to create revenue for the Meals on Wheels. And it's, you know, it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it's not easy. It takes, just like the other stuff, takes commitment. And people, you know, people in the United States are the most generous people in the world. So if you approach them correctly, you can usually get some help from people. So there's, you know, the government's only got so much money, and you can only raise taxes so much. You got to start thinking outside the box and come up with different ideas. And they don't have to be gigantic ideas, just smaller stuff like the Meals on Wheels. I don't know what it costs, but you know, I'm sure we could put together a group and, you know, raise enough each year just for the Meals on Wheels to pay their expenses.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Glenn Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, the homeless aren't a big problem in Sedro-Woolley at this point, but if it does occur, how should the city address it?
Well, that's just it. You got to identify what homeless is. Are you talking about a family with two little kids that are sitting on the corner with no place to go? Or that's what I call homeless. And there's all kinds of government programs to help them. The problem we're having, and that everybody's calling homeless, is people that are on drugs, people have mental problems, and that's the real problem. The homeless, what I call homeless, like a family, there's programs that already do a very good job of that. It's the mentally ill people that have a problem, and the people on drugs that have a problem, and that's, so you got to identify the problem first before you can try to solve it. And you can't solve problems by giving them needles to shoot up on stuff. But Sedro-Woolley you do see somebody every once in a while, but there's got, at least the way I've been explained to by some of our state legislators, there's programs that you can pick up the phone and they're supposed to be able to help anybody, whether that's true or not. I've never been a homeless person that had to get the help, but they're just leaving them on the streets no good. And just, you know, but helping them get drugs is not good either. But so the problem is identifying what we're going to call homeless. And if it's drug addicts and mentally ill persons, you have to have programs to deal with that problem. It's not just like they're sitting there without a place to live. It's they've got problems that created their homelessness, and you can't solve the problem, the homelessness, until you solve the problem that created the homeless.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin, this is
Yeah.
Councilman Allen again. You answered that very well. I think I'll rephrase if I can, Mayor Julia. Homeless live under tarp shelters and not in permanent homes. Okay, can I change that question for the next candidates?
Sure, we'll let you do that.
Okay, that was my intention. Thank you. And thank you, Kevin.
All right.
Anytime.
All right, thank you, Kevin. And we are going to go back to Judith. Judith, have you had success in? Oh, okay. Bill, is there something that we can do for her?
I'm not sure. I could have her call me offline and try to work on it while you're going through the rest.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Very sorry, Judith. So, but we will come back. We will come back, and we're hoping for good success. Moving on to William Holt, and I see you have your name down here as Bill Holt. Would you prefer to be called Bill?
Yes.
All right. Hi, Bill. Welcome. And if you'd like to take 3 minutes or so and make a statement, that would be great.
All right. Well, this is, I'm Bill Holt, obviously. This is the first time ever stepping into these deep waters, so pretty new to this. Very interested in it. I feel there's a connection with the Sedro-Woolley in the community. My grandparents and them moved here in the early 1900s and been a staple around here for quite some time. Yeah, I did not go to school here. However, I grew up where every summer at my grandparents' house on the corner of Garden of Eden and Burroughs Lane. And I logged for 18 years. And since then, I've joined the union. I work out at the refinery with my daughter. And so I feel like I've seen kind of both sides of the track, so to speak, on things. And my kids are all graduated with jobs, and I got a little extra time, and I worked for the laborers local 292 and thought I'd try to step up my game a little bit and get involved with the community and the activities. You know, we do Trek for Treasure every year. One of the things seems like we always end up back at Northern State Hospital. That's a big hike for those guys, it seems like. So, you know, other than that, like I said, I'm pretty new and I'd like to give it a shot.
All right, thank you. So we're going to have the council ask you a few questions, and we'll begin with Brendan McGoffin.
Hi, thank you. The city council recently decided to increase property taxes and utility rates as recommended by our city staff. In your opinion, was this the right decision and why?
Without looking at any of the evidence or any of why we're doing it or having any information whatsoever, it's pretty hard to say yes or no. However, I'd say the city council probably exhausted all their resources on trying to find the correct answer. You know, I'm a firm believer that the more small businesses that can come into town and work locally could soak up some of that expense. So yes, I think you guys did the right thing.
Okay, thank you. JoEllen Kesti.
Okay, like many communities, Sedro-Woolley has tremendous amount of infrastructure needs such as sidewalks, road repairs, etc. With our budget already being so tight, what would be your ideas for new revenue to fund these needs?
Well, not to sound like a broken record, but maybe bringing in more businesses locally, using up more of our downtown areas into getting as many businesses as we can to help with the taxes and stuff like that. You know, maybe looking into grants or loans or not loans, grants or something, you know, from the state. So that's what I got.
Okay, thank you. Brenda Kinzer.
Good evening, Bill. It's really good to see you. Thank you for being here tonight. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
thank you.
Okay, all right. Bill, my number one question tonight is, what do you think is the most important issue that the city council should tackle during these times that is within their responsibilities, and how do you propose that they tackle that project?
Probably growth, like business growth, and where you're going to go with it. I think that we have a lot of residential and could use some more business sides of things that I think could help out in a lot of ways. One thing, I used to go get my hair cut from old Norm at the Houston Barber Shop. And one of the things that always stuck with me that he'd say is every time you go in there, he'd always talk about, you know, everybody in Sedro-Woolley always seems to be driving out of town to go to work, me included. I work out at the Anacortes refinery. So, you know, that was just something that always stuck with me was, and like I said, I'm new to this. I don't have a plan or a game. It just, in my little head is, if we could get more sustainable jobs in here, you know, a lot of them taxes and a lot of those things would come to us, where, you know, it could ease the load on the citizens.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Brenda and Bill. Chuck Owen.
Again, I want to thank you for being here, and I only have one question. If you could do one thing to beautify the downtown Sedro-Woolley, what would be your suggestion?
To beautify downtown Sedro-Woolley. We've got a pretty good looking downtown Sedro-Woolley already. That's a pretty tough one, but you know, I see the city keeps up on the flowers, the sweeping. Boy, and just to hate to sound like a broken record, maybe more open businesses down there. You know, I think we have a beautiful city. I think we have you know, I drive by there at 5 o'clock every morning, and I usually see the street sweepers going. In the summer, I see the guys watering the flowers. You know, we have a beautiful park. There's not much that can be changed.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Chuck, I want to remind you, just same question. So choose which one it's going to be, either the senior center or the downtown. So, all right. Thank you. Glenn Allen.
Thank you, Mayor Julia. I'm going to be a little more specific, but we're going to stay with the homeless that live under tarps and situations like that. It's not a big problem here yet, but if it occurs, how should the city address it?
Well, that's a tough question because, like stated before, you know, if you're sleeping under a tarp, under a tent, because it's your choice of spending your money or stealing or doing drugs and stuff like that, that's kind of, I wouldn't want the city to enable that type of conduct. You know, if there was help programs, maybe get people cleaned up, get people situated, you know, small jobs, you know, minimum wage jobs of helping out that helps the city and people could fund that might get somebody back on their feet that's gone through a rehabilitation program. I think that's great. I think the ones that just want to lay under the tarp, not go to rehabilitation and just cause that lifestyle for themselves, you know, maybe it's better to put them in a small detention area where it's confined and or something where, you know, not to be that guy, but you know, I wouldn't want my daughters walking down the sidewalk and that being next to it when, if that guy doesn't want to help himself, how much help can you offer him?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bill. And now we are going to move on to Jeanette Sosa. Welcome, Jeanette, and I'm going to give you a few minutes to make a statement.
Thank you. So my name is Jeanette. I've lived in Sedro-Woolley since about 2012. I am currently a full-time student at Western Washington University, and I'm majoring in accounting. My ultimate goal is to earn my master's degree and become a certified public accountant. I am married and I have 3 kids. We enjoy being outdoors and exploring Mother Nature. I really don't have much experience being involved with the city or anything like that, but I would really like to get the chance to get involved.
All right. Thank you, Jeanette. And we will begin with Brendan McGoffin. You have a question?
Hi, thank you. The city council recently decided to increase property taxes and utility rates as recommended by our city staff. In your opinion, was this the right decision and why?
So I think that for some people, for the members of the community, it might be the right decision, and for others, they might struggle. It might be a hardship for them. I would like to think that if it was recommended, it's necessary, and it would be a good decision, excuse me, and it would help our city, I would hope, in some way with that extra revenue to put it towards good use.
Okay, thank you. JoEllen Kesti.
Okay, thank you. Like many communities, Sedro-Woolley has tremendous amount of infrastructure needs such as sidewalks, road repairs, etc. With our budget already being so tight, what would be your ideas for new revenue to fund these ideas?
So I actually pointed out that the sidewalks were an issue in my application because I go on walks with my kids and I noticed that some places don't have sidewalks and some places have overgrowth of grass and trees and stuff. So I made a suggestion of maybe trying to get a group together, myself included, and going out there and cleaning up the sidewalks, maybe getting some small businesses involved where they can get acknowledged, and then also people will be more incentivized to shop there, and creating more revenue was my idea.
Okay, thank you. Brenda Kinzer. Are you with us, Brenda?
Well, I've got audio on, but okay, there's a video. Thank you. Yes, good night. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you, Jeanette, for being here
Thank you.
tonight. My question for you tonight is, what do you think is the #1 issue that city council should take on that is within the responsibilities, and how do you think they should go about taking that issue on?
I think that it would be good to get the empty buildings in downtown, get them filled up with businesses. I think that that's very important. I think it will help the city bring in extra revenue, or more revenue, I guess. I'm not sure how to approach that with bringing in more businesses. I would think offering some type, and I'm not sure honestly how to bring in more businesses. Just some form of, I'm sorry, I don't know how how to approach that.
Okay, that's totally okay. I appreciate your input. I appreciate your thoughts, and it takes a while to figure out, make these things happen.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Chuck Owen.
Okay, thank you for being here. And I guess my question is, if you were on the council, how would you approach something to keep the teenagers busy, some kind of activities? What would you recommend?
To keep teenagers busy, I would think some form of activities, maybe using the high school building or their field. I don't know if that's allowed, but bringing out like soccer balls or basketballs, arts and crafts for the kids who like to get creative. Some type of robotics thing would be pretty cool, I think, for kids to get them off and away from trouble.
Okay, thank you. All right, Chuck. You were out of order there. Moving on to Glenn Allen.
Thank you, Mayor Julie. I think we're supposed to ask the same question, right?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Jeanette, okay, the homeless problem is, and describing the homeless as people that like live in tarps, old cars, old RVs, isn't a big problem here yet. But if it does happen, how should we, or how should the city address it?
I think that approaching the person, assuming it is a safe situation, figuring out what's going on with them, what got them there in the first place, anything going on in their life, you know, that might have put them there. And then based off of that decision or answer, I'm sorry, if they're willing to participate, offer some sort of services to help them get cleaned up, offer places that are hiring to try and get them into a place, not living in tarps.
All right. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you.
Have we had opportunity to figure out Judith's audio?
Have we?
We can hear you. Yes.
Yes. When I left, I went to see what was happening with my mic, and my mic was turned way down. So
Okay.
That was the problem. Anyway, I'm here.
So welcome, Judith.
Thank you.
And why don't you take a few minutes and tell us about yourself?
All right. Well, I have to parrot Kevin a little bit. I was on the Planning Commission. I have been on the City Council much more recently than he has. And it's a position that I really appreciate because it is our duty to hold the purse strings, and it is the one way that we can represent the people and try to limit the damage we do to their pocketbooks. Basically, I like to hear from the people in the city as to what they would like to see happen here. And I like to be in a position where I can help them achieve those things.
Okay, thank you, Judith. So again, we'll have the council ask a few questions of you, and we'll start with Brendan McGoffin.
Hi, Judith. My question is, the City Council recently decided to increase property taxes and utility rates as recommended by our city staff. In your opinion, was this the right decision, and why?
I think that the property taxes, yes, because we have not taken our constitutionally allowed amounts in a long time. And so we're quite behind in that. The utilities, I'm not in favor of because everybody has to use them and not everybody can afford them if you keep piling on and piling on them. So that's my view.
Okay, thank you, Judith. Thank you, Brendan. JoEllen, Kesti.
Okay, like many communities, Sedro-Woolley has tremendous amount of infrastructure needs, such as sidewalks, road repairs, etc. With our budget already being so tight, what would be your ideas for new revenue to fund these needs?
I'm going to address sidewalks first because When a sidewalk is put in, it becomes the responsibility of the property owner to make it good. So I think we need to do a very good job of reminding people of that. With streets, that's, you know, that we had for the thoroughfares, we had the $20 fee. We could reinstate that, but that, you know, they're limited which streets we can use that on. Otherwise, it just becomes fill the potholes. And we have the people and the material to do that, so.
All right, thank you. And Brenda Kinzer.
Hi, Judith. Good to see you.
Hi,
Thank
good to see you.
you so much for being here tonight. My question tonight to you is, what do you think the #1 issue that the Sedro-Woolley City Council should take on at this time? And how do you propose that they might do that?
Well, as there is very limited inflation, I think that we should concentrate on living within our means. And that goes back to the pocketbook strings that the city council holds.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Judith. Appreciate it.
All right. And Chuck Owen.
His phone's ringing.
Hi, Judith. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Chuck.
I'm sorry, Mayor, my train kind of jumped the track and I got on the wrong rails. But anyway, I'm an avid supporter of the senior center. And like I was asked before, you know, they serve 80 to 90 meals a day and Meals on Wheels. And they're serving people that are disabled, people that are not able to cook, and it's a great service. And it's getting to the point. A lot of their income is through charity, you know, and donations, and they usually have like bowling or something to raise funds. But this COVID has put the skids to that. So, would you be willing to participate in trying to generate some funds to assist them if they do run into trouble?
Yes, I certainly would. I think that charity is always something that is our concern, but that's as an individual, not necessarily a city council. City council does support the senior center, and unfortunately, it's more expensive to do Meals on Wheels than to have them come there and have their lunches and such. And this is just, it's a terrible situation that we're in now with this COVID and not being able to gather. And not only is it more expensive to run the truck and get the meals to them, but they're also not socializing the way they need to. And that's a big problem. So really, I just hope and pray that we can get the senior center running again. And in the meantime, I would be really very, very happy to help with any sort of charitable drive that could be put on to support it. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Glenn Allen.
Thank you, Mayor Julie. Gee, I'm a boring guy tonight. I'm going to ask the same darn question. Judith, okay, homelessness is a problem that we haven't really experienced too much in Sedro-Woolley yet. When I say homelessness, I'm talking mostly about people that live in under tarp shelters, old RVs, cars. How should the city address this?
I think that because this is a situation where the cities and the county can all work together, I think that what I was reading in the paper about police officers joining with social workers and getting people the help they need rather than putting them in jail or anything like that is a very good first step. And I think we just need to support that kind of activity.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Judith. And I'm glad your mic was figured out.
Yes.
So we're going to move on to Corinne Hamburg. Hello, Corinne, welcome.
Hi.
Would you like to provide us with a statement?
Yes, of course. My name is Corinne Hamburg. I'm a 5th generation Skagitonian, and my spouse and I have lived in Sedro-Woolley for 7 years now. Lucky enough to live on Ferry Street and get to be a part of the parades or protests, either way. We really enjoyed living in Sedro-Woolley and have always tried to find ways that we can get more involved in our community. My spouse sits on the board for the Fellowship of the Eagles and has been really active in providing, especially during this COVID time, meals to members and trying to generate revenue and providing and donating any meals to our police officers and firefighters on duty. We did for Christmas, and we have pretty regularly, we actually have a chili night on Saturday. So any on-duty police officers, be ready for some leftover chili. So we've been really involved in that and trying to work with some in the local food bank and other community non-for-profit to really try to stimulate our community involvement and trying to get those who need food in this really difficult time. I also ran for city council back last year, and then most recently ran for or applied for an appointment for the PUD commissioner vacancy. Did not get either, but I am still tenacious and more than happy to be involved in any way possible so I can better my community. My biggest assets that I bring to the table are my education in environmental sciences and now my utility experience working for the city of Anacortes, learning how to do balanced budget, understanding the necessities of utility increases, and really focusing on long-term planning and long-term rate studies. That's something that we are looking into currently from the wastewater perspective, is a long-term plan to figure out industrial users and city users, make it equitable for everyone involved so that the only people feeling it isn't just the community members. So that's what I think I bring to the table, and I'm excited to answer your questions.
Great. Thank you, Corinne. We'll begin with Brenda McGoffin.
Hi, Corinne. My question is, the City Council recently decided to increase property taxes and utility rates as recommended by our city staff. In your opinion, was this the right decision, and why?
So without looking at the details, it would be really hard for me to say yay or nay, but from my understanding, Sedro-Woolley has been pretty lax on moving forward with property tax increases over time, as well as with rates. But again, I really do believe in having a long-term plan and maybe doing some research and figuring out what our 5, 10, 15-year rate study should be to ensure that capital and other projects that may come up are able to be afforded without having to go and get additional bonds and have to increase our taxes more steeply.
All right, thank you. And JoEllen Kesti.
All right, like many communities, Sedro-Woolley has tremendous amount of infrastructure needs such as sidewalks, road repairs, etc. With our budget already being so tight, what would be your ideas for new revenue to fund these ideas or needs?
So there's a couple sides to that from a perspective of someone who works for a city and is continuously balancing my own budget. Something that I would love to have more important in a governmental atmosphere is incentivizing saving between departments. And if you have projects from one department to another that are more important, as long as it's not funding that has to be spent specifically on certain types of infrastructure payments, then figuring out how to share the wealth and be able to have more of an adaptive management strategy with the budget that enables us to fix things without trying to find additional revenue. That also goes to, I also believe that we do need to figure out how to attract businesses to the city. And figuring out, first of all, what kind of businesses do we want to attract is the first step. Because if you don't identify the businesses you want to attract, there's not really a great way to figure out how to strategically attract them to your city. For some bigger corporations, it might be tax credits. For smaller companies, it may be mini grants. So there's many different sides to that I think that as long as, the planning department and the council moves together in a cohesive manner, it can be done.
All right, thank you. And we'll move on to Brenda Kinzer.
Good evening, Corinne. It's really nice to see you again, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Tonight, my question for you is, what do you think the biggest issue that the city council should take on that is within their responsibilities, and how do you feel that they should do that?
I really think that ensuring that we have a balanced budget and making sure that projects that that support infrastructure to ensure that those who currently are living here, that their lives are supported, as well as one major thing that happened recently that was great to see is the city supporting local businesses to be able to continue to use the right of way to have outdoor seating. So
yeah,
continuously encouraging activities like that support our local businesses. And really right now, growth should be kind of on hold until we really figure out what's going on with COVID. We really need to figure out how to maintain everybody who is currently employed with us and ensure that layoffs are not something that we're looking towards in the future, like some cities may have to.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to Chuck Owen.
Corinne, it's been a while since I seen you, but
good to see you, Chuck.
Yeah. You can do it again. I know if you don't elevate it, I know you'll do it again, and I won't run against you next time. But anyway, I'm talking about the senior center, and it's beginning to get pretty tight for the Meals on Wheels. And as you know,
Sure.
those meals go to handicapped people and people that aren't able to get out and eat somewhere, or they're of age where a couple just don't cook anymore. They can't. So, but anyway, I guess what I'm going to ask you is, if you were on the council and it come to where they just didn't have the money to operate, would you be willing to participate in something like their biggest income is donations and fundraising activities, and I'm sure you would probably get involved in activities or whatever you can do to help those people. So I guess that's all I had.
On a personal level, I would love to be involved. I would also love to see, especially during these times, entities like the Eagles and the Food Bank and the Senior Center and Meals on Wheels all kind of come together and figure out who within our communities can be assets to each other. We put on dinners for the Eagles to keep us afloat, but also a lot of it is to ensure that our members are fed, because we do have a very elderly population as well. The meals aren't free, but my husband or my spouse and I, and most of the people involved, most of the food's donated. So it really does help keep it so that we're able to keep the doors open. So maybe something like that where there's a collaboration between the Meals on Wheels and the Eagles, and the food bank has food to donate, and then whatever money that needs for the main protein or what have you can be donated from members. Also, another idea, there is the Warm Home Fund or something like that that PSE has on their, when you go to pay your bill, you can pay your bill and choose to donate. And that might be something worth looking at through the eyes of the city staff, is whether or not we have the capability to add that on our billing portal, to have people who are members of the community donate to certain approved non-for-profits locally.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Glenn Allen.
Thank you, Mayor Julie. I want to be just as boring as my co-counselor Brendan. Okay, Corbin. The homeless problem is not a big deal yet, but the people that live like under tarps, old RVs that don't run, old cars and stuff. But if it does happen, how should the city address it?
Well, I think the first step is how should the city address getting ahead of it? Because really, again, as said by other applicants, there's always a why. There's always a why before someone gets there. So how can we as a city be prepared or even prevent that, which I do think that new facility, that mental health and wellness facility, will really help our community as a whole address a lot of issues that we haven't had any sort of medical attention for those people to go to that have specialization in that, especially for people who don't have insurance. So I do think that that's going to be a great asset to our community. With that being said, I do think just ensuring that our police department is well suited and well trained to deal with adverse situations, and being able to go to trainings that they do specifically tackle those mental health issues. How do you deal with somebody who's high on X, Y, and Z? And also, I would highly recommend that not only our police department's training that, but our parks department is as well. My spouse works for the Burlington Parks Department, and more so than not, him and his staff are the ones that come in contact with these individuals firsthand before the police is ever involved. So having those people trained immediately before getting the police involved, sometimes they can de-escalate the situation even without having to get the police involved, which is really wonderful. So.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Corinne.
Thank you.
And we are going to move on to David Bates. Good evening, Dave. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hello.
Yeah, good evening. Good to see you, Mayor and council members. Thanks for the opportunity. Nothing's changed much except, of course, COVID. Fortunately, I was able to stay employed. I'm actually still here at work. We closed the shop here at 6 o'clock. So these bars behind me, I'm not in jail. I'm still at work. And it was a great time running in 2019 with Brendan. Hi, Brendan. I see you there in the middle of the screen. We had a real close race, ending up about 39 votes apart. So you guys got a great guy, and don't have any problem with that. Anyway, I look forward to having a chance to continue serving Sedro-Woolley. I retired, 26 years on the fire department. I know a lot of you on the board there, and have had contact with you over the years, and done some things with your family that aren't so pretty sometimes, but put out some fires and saved some lives, and been around town for a while. I was active in the church there at State and Township. I was a board member there for 13 years. Served with the youth group, bringing some of our kids up into adulthood and supervising things there. and just would really like to have a chance to continue that. Me and my wife dress up as Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus during the Christmas days. Yeah, there's the Grinch over there giving me the wink. And we just have a great time in Sedro-Woolley. You probably saw me around handing out candy canes in town, and just have a great time with Sedro-Woolley. I'd like to continue doing that.
All right, thank you, Dave. Few questions, and again, we'll begin with Brenda McGoffin.
Hey, Dave, it's good to see you again. And I'm
Good to see you, Brenda.
I'll try to spice this question up while remaining the same. Thanks, co-counselor Glenn. The city council recently decided to increase property taxes and utility rates as recommended by our city staff. In your opinion, was this the right decision, and why?
I'm actually a little torn with that answer. I know you guys were privy to a lot of information that I probably don't have in front of me, and I'm sure you came up with a great decision that was good for the city, and I would probably agree with those. I also agree with a number of the people here tonight that have said it's been tough on some of the people in town with the COVID and unemployment and issues like that. In the long run, I'd just like to see it be fair and for our citizens to pay for the services that are being used by them. So actually, although I'm torn with it being a tough year, I do agree with the decisions. Did that answer it?
Yes, you did. Thank you. Okay, moving on to JoEllen Kesti.
Okay, mine's probably not going to be as spicy as Brendan's, but like many communities, Sedro-Woolley has tremendous amount of infrastructure needs, such as sidewalks, roads, repairs, etc. With our budget already being so tight, what would be your ideas for new revenue to fund these needs?
Well, to kind of answer that, maybe I think probably Ms. Kinzer is going to be next or coming soon. But just like with the police and fire levy that we did a few years ago, some of the new issues can be identified and maybe presented to the citizens in a vote and things like that. If it could be, publicly funded through increased levies or taxes is one way. And also a recurring theme seems to be city growth and bringing small businesses in. And I do agree with that. Maybe waiving some impact fees and capitalizing on some of the sales tax that we may generate.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Thank you, JoEllen. And yes, we're moving right into Brenda.
Hi, Dave. Good to see you tonight.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here. My question for you tonight is, what do you think the number one issue that the Sedro-Woolley City Council should take on, and how would you propose that they do that?
Well, I'm going to say the fire department. Police and fire, public safety, EMS. I believe we did a great job with the levy, bringing in new police officers. Recently, the fire department is brought in the EMS system into their curriculum, or not curriculum, but system, and absorbing that income and expense. And again, just keep up the training and the funding on what's important for our town. I believe public safety is number one.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. And Mr. Owen.
Okay, what is that? Wait.
Chuck, are you with us?
Well, I didn't hear. There was a bunch of static or something that interfered. But anyway, how you doing, Dave? It's good to see you.
Good to see you, Chuck.
I got a question. about the senior center. You're old enough to visit occasionally, I'm sure, so. But anyway, the senior center, the Meals on Wheels are running a real tight budget. And I hope they can keep going without any assistance, but most of their income is through funding from individuals, donations, and activities. So what I'm asking you is, seeing how you're retired and like myself, I'm really involved with the senior center, and would you be willing to help out, like in activities or any way we can raise some funds for the Meals on Wheels if it comes down to that? Would you be able to do that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would be all for a charity event for a funding drive. I enjoy seeing Carl's Facebook posts when he's down there chipping in the kitchen, and I would be happy to go down there with him and enjoy the time with our seniors. I remember being on the fire department when we would go to the elderly's homes, and I would see that they were veterans or things of that status. I would, thank them for their time served and what they did. And I enjoy the elderly and making them comfortable.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
All right, thank you. And moving on to Glenn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a little nervous, David, when you said you enjoy being around my fellow councilman, Carl. Anyway, my question is, gee whiz, okay, homelessness isn't a big problem here yet, but when I speak homelessness, I'm talking about people that live in under tarps, old RVs, broken down cars. But if a problem does occur, how should this city address it?
Well, because I think public safety is number one. Keep the police department trained in those types of confrontations and contacts. I've done several drives with local churches and just giving out turkey dinners on Thanksgiving and that sort of thing. But again, I think the main thing is if it becomes a problem, that we need to start off on a good relationship and basic contact with them, asking them, what got you here? Who are you? What would you like to do? Would you like to get out of this? And make some relationships with those folks and find out where they want to go and what help may be needed, and work from there.
I know you feel your questions mundane, but I have to say the answers that we're getting from the different applicants they've been varied and they've been great. So, all right, thank you, Dave. And we're going to move on to. You're welcome. We're going to move on to Kim Leyland. Welcome, Kim.
Hi, I'm Kim Leyland. I'm from Sedro-Woolley. Went to Sedro-Woolley High School, and my father went to Sedro-Woolley High School as well, and my daughter. So longtime resident of Skagit. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Longtime resident of Sedro-Woolley and Skagit County. I'm a physician assistant, and I currently work for Skagit Regional Clinics in family practice. And I have a lot of administrative experience. I have a master's degree in public health administration. And so I've dealt with lots of complicated problems. So do a lot of problem solving continuously, even though it's not really related to per se like budgeting, although I've done budgeting because I worked for Duval County Health Department in Jacksonville, Florida, and ran my own department there many moons ago. So I do have some administrative experience, but that's been quite a while ago. But I was excited when I saw the position available because I really would like to get involved and with the council and with Sedro-Woolley. I love Sedro-Woolley. It's a beautiful little town, and I just would like to really give back to my home. I plan on staying in Sedro-Woolley and love to see it grow and develop and have lots of ideas about things that could happen. So,
all right. Thank you, Kim. A few questions from the council. We'll start with Brendan McGoffin.
Hi, good evening, Kim. My question for you is, the city council recently decided to increase property taxes and utility rates as recommended by our city staff. In your opinion, was this the right decision, and why?
yes, and you know, it's great to be the person that comes after many people because you know, you get to hear everybody else's answer, and so you know, it has been a really tough year with COVID, and people have really struggled, and so you know, it kind of breaks your heart to hear about the hardships that people have gone through. So, you know, nobody wants to pay more taxes or have their utility rates go up. But on the other hand, everybody does want the, you know, 911 to come when you call them, and everybody does want the police officer there when you need them. So, you know, it's important to be able to support the infrastructure of our city and to have, you know, the police officer and the fire department there when you need them. So, you know, those things are really important, and so yes, I do think it was the right thing to do.
All right, thank you. And we will move on to JoEllen Kesti.
All right. Like many communities, Sedro-Woolley has tremendous amount of infrastructure needs, such as sidewalks, road repairs, etc. With our budget already being so tight, what would be your ideas for new revenue to fund these needs? Yes. So thinking about that, you know, there's a couple of things. One is to, you know, to increase the tax base, and other people have said that too. But a couple of different things to think about. You know, Sedro-Woolley has already sort of has a theme going on. You know, we have that small town, hometown kind of theme, plus the sort of a Western kind of pioneer town going on. And so maybe continuing to develop on that theme and trying to bring, you know, so that there's, when COVID hopefully is lessening and we're moving on from that, that we could continue to develop that kind of theme so that, you know, there's more tourism, so that we could bring people in that way. Also, you know, we're a large agricultural community. Skagit County is a large agricultural community. So looking at more agricultural based business. And then, you know, so there's just some ideas to help that. But then on the flip side of that, trying to save money where we can, making sure that we do have a balanced budget and that we're being economical as much as we can.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. And Ms. Kinzer.
Good evening, Kim. Thank you so much for being here. It's really good to finally see you in person.
Thank you.
My question for you tonight is, what do you think the most important issue that the city council should take on at this point within their responsibilities? And how do you feel they should take that responsibility on?
I really think that it's important to build on the, oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
Build on the infrastructure. So, you know, the public safety, the fire, the police, making sure that we are keeping all of the citizens of Sedro-Woolley safe and healthy. That's what I think is the most important. And so, you know, hiring new police officers, making sure we're supporting this fire department, making sure that, you know, we have the 911 and all that is supported, and we're all good to go there.
Thank you,
Okay.
Kim. Thank you very much.
Moving on to Chuck Owen.
Thank you, Kim, for being here tonight. And I'm sure you're familiar with our senior center here in Sedro-Woolley, but I think we have the most beautiful senior center in whole Skagit County. And a lot of thanks goes to the city. And the city has a contract with senior services and the city pays $26,054 a year. But the Meals on Wheels, they're having trouble with that. I mean, they're running a real tight budget. And this COVID thing has curtailed all the activities which we use to get a lot of our funds and donations from people. A lot of people are really generous in their donations. So I'm asking you, if you're a council member, would you be willing to participate in some of these fundraisers or help out in any way in the senior center? Those old people out there that are, you know, housebound, and without these Meals on Wheels, I don't know what they would do. But I'm just asking you, would you be willing to help out in any way that you can as being a council member?
Absolutely. As a physician assistant, I see patients every day that get assistance from Meals on Wheels and other services within our community. And so it is vitally important that people have those services. You know, there's a lot of my patients that's where they get their only meals from, is from services like that. So I would be willing to do whatever I could to help make sure that those services continue to be provided. Personally and as a council member, I would do both. That's just something that needs to continue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Kim, I want to just be boring as heck. Okay. There is a homeless problem that's been hitting the state. I'm going to change it a little bit, but where we live, we haven't seen a big impact yet. And when I say homeless, I'm talking tarps and old RVs and cars. How should, if it does hit Sedro-Woolley harder, how should the city deal with it? You know,
I think that we should, that the city should consider trying, you know, I'm going to be a little bit unconventional, because we have a problem not only in Skagit County, but in the state of Washington, of not having enough mental health providers. And so, you know, we should be clamoring to get more mental health providers. And although they're building that new facility there, I can tell you right now, there's still not going to be enough mental health providers for the people that are, you know, for the problem that we have. And that is the largest proportion of people is the drug abuse and the mentally ill that end up being our homeless people. And so I'm going to say something really unconventional. I'm going to say we should be trying to recruit mental health providers in our area to help deal with that problem, because that's what's going to be needed, is to get these people into treatment programs in order to get them so that they can have a better quality of life, so that they don't end up living under a tarp or under a bridge, and that we don't end up looking like Seattle or San Francisco. So, you know, and there, you know, there are things, I mean, really good programs. Friendship House is a wonderful facility. And, you know, maybe if we ended up in Sedro-Woolley with a similar situation, we could develop something like Friendship House, where once people became better, well, that they could, you know, participate in a situation like Friendship House, you know, because there are a lot of, you know, properties that end up kind of abandoned. You know, maybe that's some sort of program that could be sort of facilitated by the city, but also privately, you know, funded and privately done, so that it's not the city's responsibility. But there are a lot of abandoned places, and it's a shame to watch these houses deteriorate and just fall apart, where they could be rehabilitated and maybe they could be cohabitated by people that didn't have a place to live. So anyway, just some thoughts.
All right.
Hey,
Good thoughts.
Kim, thank you. Thanks, Kim.
Yes, thank you. All right, so quickly moving through our list here, we have just a couple more. I haven't seen Joseph Burns come on. So Bill, if you could let me know if you see him there, or even Linda Markowitz. So I'm going to jump down to Richard Waits. Richard Waits here? Yes?
Yep.
Oh, hello, Richard.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
We're going to give you a few minutes to share a little bit about yourself and maybe your vision of Sedro-Woolley.
Okay. I'd like to thank first by thanking the council this opportunity to speak and, you know, turn the application in to help serve the city. I was an Army brat, moved all over, and my grandparents were from here. We moved here, and I got a coaching job at Sedro-Woolley, coaching basketball 10 years ago, and lived in Clear Lake and coached in Sedro. And then a couple years, finally 5 years ago, moved to Sedro-Woolley, bought my first home, and started coaching again. And we developed a youth program so the kids of Sedro-Woolley can stay in Sedro-Woolley and develop and play basketball, and instead of having to leave and go to Mount Vernon or other areas. So it's really a cool thing that this town got to help with that, to show that this town can do that, to provide an environment for kids to thrive and grow. And just in basketball is my example, because that's what I'm passionate about. And then in my work, I've been on the executive board for 15 years, and I'm a bargaining member, so I know how it is to work with a team to get the job done, and everybody has their opinion, but you all got to come together and do what's best for the workers, and you're just a representative there to make sure, and I got appointed to that, so I feel pretty good about that. And being able to do it for so long, you know, 15 years, just knowing that I have the workers back and they feel that they're represented well. And now I'm on the labor council for 3 different counties, and now I'm an officer. So it's just great to see that you can work with different people, but you're all one team to do the better of what your workers or the town. And that's what I look forward to doing in Sedro-Woolley.
All right, thank you. We're going to ask a few questions of you, as you have seen, and we'll begin with Brendan McGoffin.
Hi, good evening, Richard. So my question is, the city council recently decided to increase property taxes and utility rates as recommended by our city staff. In your opinion, was this the right decision, and why?
Like a few people said it's the city planned and worked together, and I was at a couple meetings and understood they look the best. You know, it's not the best time, but it's the best. You got to do it, and I trust that the city worked together with the council and the members of boards to do the best decision to keep the city going.
Thank you. And JoEllen Kesti?
All right. Hello, Richard. Let's
Hi.
see. Like many communities, Sedro-Woolley has tremendous amount of infrastructure needs, such as sidewalks, road repairs, etc. With our budget already being so tight, what would be your ideas for new revenue to fund these needs?
Well, there's money out there, I think, at the state and local level to, as I've testified in Olympia, to work with our union to do better stuff for our members. You know, you don't get it one way, go find it the other way. And I think that I've worked with state representatives in all 3 districts, and it's just try to go out there and find the money and work within our budget. And I know people tried that before, but being at the grand opening of the library, I see how it works. And I just think that there's other ways to find grants available if that'll work.
All right. Thank you. And Brenda Kinzer.
Hi, Richard. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Really appreciate you.
Thanks.
My question for you tonight is, what do you believe that the most important issue that the city council should tackle that is within their responsibilities? And how do you think they should go about tackling that issue?
Well, jumping right in with the council, I want to meet with the council and see what they've been working on as their top priority, and work with them to, you know, figure that out and go from there. I know there's a lot of issues, but we just want to come in and gel with the team and go from there and work on making the city better.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. And Mr. Owen. Oh, Chuck, your mic is, or you're muted.
Sounds
you.
better that way. Again, welcome, Richard. I have a question about the senior center. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but it's a beautiful building, and thank the city for furnishing it. And they pay the senior services like $26,054 a year to staff that building. So that's no problem, but the Meals on Wheels is different. And with this COVID thing, you know, our fundraisers have bottomed out, and the only thing they're relying on is donations. And they do have a little bit of a income from the county and a couple of deals from the government. But what I'm asking you is, would you be willing to work with the senior center? I'm an avid supporter of the senior center. Would you be willing to work with me if you were on the council and to come up with some way that we can support this Meals on Wheels and keep it going? But anyway, I would invite you to visit the senior center sometime, and maybe you have, but can't do it until this COVID thing's gone. And have a meal with the seniors, and you'd see You see how much they enjoy that place.
Yeah, I've been to the senior center. We had an event there once, and I was the past master for Donia Grange. Some of your old timers know that, the Grange, and I was the master for 3 years as my grandparents, and my mom was third generation, and we always dealt with it was a more senior clientele. It skipped a few generations, and we also had to figure out ways to keep the Grange afloat, and working with, getting we got a church in there to help us with the finances, but they used to do dances and stuff, and just, it would be great to be in the kitchen again. And we had pancake breakfast, and at the county level, I was an officer there working with the senior citizens, and I know how important it is for those seniors that don't have anybody to provide them meals. But I would like to work with the schools and educate the younger generations to see how important it is and show them the way, and work with you on that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Allen, oh, you got your little grandson there. Huh.
Wiley and I, we're changing the question. There is a homeless problem that's hitting the state of Washington. We don't have it too bad in Sedro-Woolley at this point, but if it occurs, how should the city address the problem? And Wiley wants to know.
Well, I think you work with the county and see how they dealt with in different issues. And the city, I work in Burlington at the Hagen, and we had the homeless problem in our stores. And I would like to see this like a proactive, see how other, places around the world did deal with it, and implement it. And it's always important to address them as citizens, and you want to try to help them if they want help. But I would like to, work on getting them help if they want help, but just see different options to like attack it before it gets here, and learn different ways and educate people.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Richard, for being here tonight. And I don't see any of the others. Lewis Paul did withdraw his application this morning, so that leaves us then with Sarah Diamond. Welcome, Sarah. And I understand happy birthday is in order. Somebody just sent me a text saying that.
Oh, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can. Would you like to share a little bit?
Sure. Well, I'm Sarah Diamond. I have lived here in Sedro-Woolley for 20 plus years. I am a mother of two. I have twin girls here, and they are fourth generation Sedro-Woolley. I graduated from Sedro-Woolley High School, went off to college, and immediately upon graduating, came back and got a job back here in Skagit County. My heart belongs in Skagit County. I love the small town feel, and it's where I wanted to raise my family. It's where I wanted to establish roots, and I have family here, and that's really where my heart is in family and in community. And I want to see Sedro-Woolley be a place where my children will have the opportunity to grow in a happy, healthy, safe environment and community that will support them as well. And that they'll have the opportunity to give back in the future as they grow and learn to love the community as much as I do. I have my background is in international project management and domestic project management. I've done quite a bit of contract negotiations. I've traveled overseas across the country and done that sorts of things. I have also worked here at my family's local law office, so I have roots here as well. I'm familiar with research and legal paperwork, preparing it myself, as well as reading through it and fully understanding what it is. In working in the law office, I was able to also really sit down in Skagit County and the community and listen to them and what they're going through in different aspects of their lives. You know, nobody comes in looking, you know, and having a great day, right? But at the end of the day, they wanted to be heard. They wanted to understand. They wanted somebody to understand where they were coming from and try to help them and search through things. And even in issues of, for example, open space, when the county was auditing all of these open space areas throughout, obviously the outskirts of the city, but these are a lot of people that are grandfathered into positions in homesteads and maybe didn't understand what needed to be reported because it was never required before. And so really it came down to educating them, working with the county in trying to understand what was necessary and processing that. And I feel like those are the same sort of skills that can be used in working with the cities and its community, and understanding what the community needs, what they're looking for, listening to the people, listening to the business owners, and what they really need to help keep going and what they want. Currently, I am working for local growers. I do a lot of sales and budget management. I'm responsible for the company's marketing budget, sales, overall. So if I don't get my job done, there is no job. So I mean, ultimately, that's on my shoulders. And it's very important to me to do a good job, get my job done, and make sure that people are comfortable and can do that. So I'm very aware of what's going on around me and who I'm working with and who I'm working for, because ultimately at the end of the day, we want to have a happy, safe, healthy community that we can grow in and our families can grow in. And that's really what I'm looking for and what I'd like to help give back to.
All right, thank you. Just like everyone before you, the council's going to ask a few questions. And again, we'll start with Brenda McGoffin.
Hi, good evening, Sarah. And first off, happy birthday. So my question for you tonight is, the city council recently decided to increase property taxes and utility rates as recommended by our city staff. In your opinion, was this the right decision and why?
I do believe that was the right decision. I realize that nobody likes to see property taxes or utility taxes increase. However, the city of Sedro-Woolley hadn't increased anything since 2012. And in doing that, there's been a lot of inflation over that. And I believe that the city and its community really does want and need the services. And unfortunately, those services do come with a cost. We can try to keep them as low as absolutely possible, but if that money does have to come from somewhere, and if somebody's going to be utilizing those services, we do have to keep up with those. If we don't, we lose those services. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I do believe that those increases were necessary.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to JoEllen and Kesti.
All right. Like many communities, Sedro-Woolley has tremendous amount of infrastructure needs, such as sidewalks, road repairs, etc. With our budget already being so tight, what would be your ideas for new revenue to fund these needs?
That's finding new revenue right now is a little bit of a hard one, simply because we're dealing with COVID, and the long-term effects of that is going to directly impact the budget for years to come, to be honest. I would say that we should be looking at the possibility, obviously, increasing and nurturing our businesses, encouraging new business, possibly by reducing or minimizing certain impact fees, to make it more attractive for them to come into town and to stay, because at the end of the day, the long term is that there's going to be additional revenue that does come in that helps to fund those budgets. The other thing that, you know, could be up for consideration as we're looking to grow, ultimately, when we do grow, we've got to look at UGA areas, and we need to kind of identify how that's going to be used, and obviously working with the planning commission and all of that good stuff and the great people there. But in doing that, growing, you've got development costs, you've got all of those people that are going to be coming into those new homes and new developments, and that's also going to increase the drastic need for upgrading sidewalks and roads. Those roads are necessary, at 100% absolutely necessary for our public safety. I mean, the fire departments needs to be able to, you know, bring their engine through there. Aid units need to be able to come through. Police need to be able to respond, and families need sidewalks so their children can safely walk and ride their bike and, you know, play and just enjoy the area that they're residing in. And so I don't think it would be I don't think it would be unreasonable to throw on the table the possibility of increasing an impact fee for development in new developments that are going to ultimately trickle down and increase the use of those roads and sidewalks.
Okay, thank you. And Brenda Kinzer.
Good evening, Sarah. It's really nice to see you, and I really appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
My question for you tonight is, what do you feel is the number one issue that the city council should look at and try to handle right now? And how would you propose they go about doing that?
That one is a huge toss-up for me. I would have to say that it's a toss-up for me between the feasible, responsible, and equitable growth, residential growth to be more specific, because as we are growing, we also need to be very mindful of the amount of resources that are necessary in that growth, being public safety, being the schools, and just the community that grows with it. So I think we need to kind of review that as a city council, and as you're looking at growth, because at the end of the day, that all trickles down into, you know, the question that JoEllen had just had about the roads and sidewalks and infrastructure, because it directly impacts that. And, you know, if you grow too fast and you don't have the funds to keep up with it, from the city's standpoint, it really can put you back. You know, and in that, you also need to nurture the small businesses that we have here and encourage new business development and new business growth, so that we can, you know, even just something small up front of reducing an impact fee, you know, in starting their business, making it more attractive for them to come in. If they can create a healthy business, ultimately they're going to employ members of our community, and those members of community are going to have a job, money in their pocket that they can turn around and go next door and buy their lunch and invest in the next business. And that's really where you create a healthy community, is nurturing those small businesses, allowing them to create jobs for some of the people here in our community as well, because the money coming out of their pockets it's just going to be reinvested. The other thing I would say is that we need to look into the possibility of recreational areas and parks that could bring other people in from other communities, where they have excess funds that they can bring in to spend in our city.
Right.
I was a part of the Sedro-Woolley Little League state baseball tournament, and I helped to coordinate and put that on, from the opening ceremonies to the event itself. partnered with Helping Hands Food Bank. Quite honestly, we couldn't have done it without their volunteers. They're fantastic. They have great volunteers. They're wonderful people, and it's relationships that have continued with me since after. And in doing that, working with the Downtown Association, and I personally met with multiple people in different businesses, whether it was getting donations or how can I get the word out about your business to the people coming in from out of town? How can we drive people in to spend their money into town so that we're making people aware of how great Sedro-Woolley is. We are the gateway to the North Cascades, but are people stopping? Are they stopping to spend their money? Are they stopping to have lunch? Are they stopping to go into Oliver Hammer? And if they're not, why?
Right.
Do they even know that if you pull off onto Metcalf Street and go past the fire department, the police department, what exists there? Do they know? And if it's a lack of awareness, then maybe, we need to work on some sort of education program outside of just working with the Port of Skagit.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And moving on to Chuck Owen.
Thank you for being here this evening, and I'm going to talk about the senior center. You're not near that age yet. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but it would be nice if some of the younger generation would just stop in once in a while and visit with some of those people. There's a lot of lonely people down there. But I'm going to talk about Meals on Wheels, and they're serving about 80 to 90 meals per day. And those meals are delivered by volunteers, but they're not cheap. I mean, they have to pay for those. And I think they run anywhere from $7 to $8 a piece, which adds up, $600+ a day. And the Meals on Wheels, they raise most of their monies from fundraisers and activities. So what I'm asking you is, if you were a council member, would you be willing to work on some of these activities after the COVID situation, of course? And I'm an avid supporter of the center. And would you be willing to work with me to try to come up some money raising ideas?
I would absolutely love to do that. I currently work for local growers, and one of the first things I would do is try to utilize some of the contacts that I have to provide and help with just food in and of itself. I currently have set up relationships and work with Feeding America, developed a plan to reduce our food waste footprint, and have fostered that relationship and helped to grow that personally between the current company that I am working for, and then also help locally with the Helping Hands Food Bank and Neighbors in Need and some other food banks in Skagit County and even into Snohomish County. I personally reach out to some of the food banks, and I would be more than happy to reach out on behalf of Meals on Wheels to other local growers and see if there's anything that they have, that they would be willing to set up a program to donate in order to help, because there's a lot of things that growers around here could do to help reduce their food waste footprint and put things to good use and feed people in need, nutritional food. And it's just not only, providing the food, but possibly setting up, volunteer programs as well, where people can kind of cycle in, after COVID, or, if there's something going on now where people can volunteer to go hand out outside of the facility itself, working together and finding a group of people that might be willing to do that as well.
All right, thank you. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Chuck, he's been talking about the senior center, but it's because of his time on the council that there has been some great things that have happened over there. The remodeling that has happened, the improvement to the program, making all of us better aware of what happens at the senior center and connecting with them. Chuck has really been a great advocate for them and also represents them well on the council. So, all right, great question. Thank you, Chuck. And last but not least, Mr. Allen, we want to hear about the homeless.
Least and last, yeah. Okay. Hey, have you heard about the homeless? It is happening throughout the state. It hasn't really hit us hard here, but you drive to Seattle, there's tent cities, if this does start to occur, how should Sedro-Woolley deal with it?
This is interesting because I do live right here in town on Ferry Street. And when we bought our house 8 years ago, there was never a homeless person that would walk by. And I can honestly tell you that I probably see 2 to 3 a week now. They've all been very nice. There has not been any personal issues with them. I have 2 little girls. So my first concern becomes public safety and the safety of the children and the people in the community, depending on the mental health issues that they might be dealing with. In the cases that I've personally seen in town, they are not necessary. There's mental health, but it's also combined with substance abuse. And it's hard to treat one and not the other. So ultimately, I think really it is utilizing the resources that we have. I know that fire and police are trained to deal with them accordingly and respectfully. And I do believe that they are doing a good job and the best job that they can with that right now. I will honestly tell you that I do not support having tents put up or tented or areas set up for it, because I don't believe in condoning it. I believe that we can create and work together to have a system where we have stepping stones for people to work for and to get themselves out of the situation. But I don't believe that we can coddle the situation, because it's not going to make it better. We coddle it and foster that situation, we're going to end up with something far worse, and it will end up getting out of hand. So the mental health facility, the rehab facilities, providing them the tools and the opportunity to take the step. But ultimately, all we can do is provide them with tools and opportunities. They have to want to do it themselves. It's not something that we can do for them. I mean, I personally have family members that are homeless. They've chosen that. They've chosen been to rehab, been to in and out of jail. There are multiple situations and there's stories for every situation. But I ultimately believe that we just need to continue to support our law enforcement and our police and the parks departments and the people that are sometimes the first people that approach them or come up on people on, making sure that they're trained properly and they can be safe. But I do think that just, being able to provide them with the resources that they can, the opportunities, and possibly maybe finding some sort of partnerships with some businesses that would be willing to help people, get on their feet. A lot of some of these people have pasts. They have, maybe they have a felony in their past and they've, struggled to get a job. And they are clean and sober, and don't have an issue with anything other than, just kind of trying to get on their feet. And they're really struggling with that. Maybe you can find businesses that would be willing to partner and provide temporary work to help them get on their feet. You'd be surprised if we got out and asked how many people would be willing to help and what they could do and what they would be willing to do. The catch is those people do have to want to work for themselves as well. So it's kind of a double-edged sword and a question that unfortunately isn't going to please everybody. But at the end of the day, we do have to look out for the safety and the community and the children and the families that are walking the streets and making sure that they're safe and the streets are clean. I don't condone, the empty beer bottles and needles or waste that's left behind if people are living in tents and those sorts of things, because they don't have the resources to take care of themselves and to live cleanly, if that makes a lot of sense there. But I don't believe in coddling, and I believe in providing them tools and opportunities to better themselves.
All right. Okay, thank you, Sarah. So that actually ends our Q&A. We are coming up on the 8 o'clock hour. We still have executive session and nominations and voting. So I am going to ask the council to consider moving on to the 8:30 hour, not adjourning till the 8:30 hour. Is there anyone who opposed to that? Okay, seeing and hearing no opposition.
Madam Mayor, Councilman Allen, the only thing I'd request is a 5-minute potty break.
Sure, you bet. We're gonna go into executive session and you can do it then. How's that? Okay, so yeah, it is 7:55 and we are going to go into executive session under RCW 4230-110-1H, and this is to evaluate the qualifications of the candidates for the appointment of the elected office. And we will come out then and do nominations and voting. We'll be in for, I'm going to say 20 minutes. So it is 7:55 and we'll be back at 7:15. So we'll see all of you back here then. Thank you.
Does anybody hear me?
We got you.
Thanks, guys. Just making sure I got back to the real world.
We can see it too.
Carl. See the bed up there? Behind me. Okay, I guess not. Yeah, right there.
I guess we're back out, right?
Huh?
Are we back out?
We're back in the real world, Chuck.
Okay. Too many buttons.
This is hard on an old man.
Hard on all of us. Everybody back? Are we waiting for what?
The mayor.
Julia,
You're on mute.
are you with us?
So that's what you're trying to tell me. So yeah, so I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, especially those of you who applied for the position, for your willingness to take your time and your talents to serve the citizens of Sedro-Woolley. I think for me, this shows an example of what it means to engage in a democratic process and to have practiced in self-government, which I think is so important in states who we are in this nation. So without further ado, I am going to call for nominations.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
as a
Councilman
councilman,
McGoffin.
thank you. I would like to nominate David Bates to the position of City Council, City at Large.
Okay, thank you. Are there other nominations?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to nominate Kevin Loy to the office of Sedro-Woolley City Council at Large.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Kinzer. Anyone else? Okay, hearing no other nominations, we will go into a vote. The first step was David Bates. And Councilman McGoffin, you were the one who actually made the nomination. Do you want to make this a motion?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Make a
And
motion.
is there a second? Hearing no second. I don't hear a second. Hearing no second.
Madam Mayor, Councilman Allen, I would second that.
Okay. So we have a motion by Councilman McGoffin, seconded by Councilman Allen to, they have nominated David Bates for the council at large position. All of those in favor, can you say
Madam Mayor,
aye?
is there time for discussion on the motion?
Go ahead. You would like to, yeah.
Thank you. I would just like to thank you, Madam Mayor, for facilitating this work study group, and I'd like to thank all the staff that was involved in putting out the questionnaire, gathering the information, all the staff time that was used to collate the information, put things together, and what a wonderful job our city workers have done, and also answering questions on the phone or with an email, and just being really available to folks that just really want to extend their service to the city of Sedro-Woolley. I just wanted to say it was great to see such a diverse group of candidates. At the beginning we had 12, now we had 11, so we had 6 females and 5 males, and the diversity of age. I think it's just
Is this a
incredible.
discussion here, or are you just
it is
making
a discussion toward this? Yeah. So thank you so much. Just thank you so much for everyone participating in this process. And it's great to see mothers, fathers, veterans, and everyone here that would like to see an extension of the community service. So that is my comment. Thank you.
Well, that's a comment, not a discussion.
Well, thank you. It is a work study group.
All right, so moving on to the vote. All those in favor, will you please both raise your hand and say aye so I can see who is voting?
Madam
So
Mayor, which party are we voting for at this time?
It's the nomination was for David Bates, and Brenda McGoffin did the motion, and Councilman Allen did the second.
Madam Mayor, JoEllen Kesti, I am putting a vote in for David Bates.
Okay. And I saw Brendan, Mr. Allen. Is there anyone else? Okay. We need 4 or more. All those opposed, raise your hand and say aye. Same motion. Okay, I see Councilwoman Kinzer, Councilman Owen, Councilman DeYoung. What are we missing here? And
We're tied, Madam Mayor.
yeah. So we have 3 and 3. Okay. So in this situation, am I the deciding vote here?
Yes, Mayor, you are. Under RCW 35A 12-100, you break the tie.
Okay. I am going to say no. So moving on then to Kevin Loy. Do we have a motion?
Aye.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilwoman Kinzer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman DeYoung. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
So I have Kinzer, Owen, DeYoung. Is there anybody else I'm missing? JoEllen, what are you doing? Are you voting yes or no? Okay. So I have 3 yeses. How many noes do I have? I have, okay, Mr. Allen, Mr. McGoffin, Ms. Kesti, are you voting yes or no?
I'm trying to vote no, but my speaker isn't coming off. Is it now? Can you hear me?
Okay, so again, it's a tie. And I guess if I'm the one who's breaking the tie, then I vote for Mr. Loy. So we have a new council member at large, Kevin Loy. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So again, I want to thank everybody for your participation, and we do need to do the oath. So Kevin, if you're if you're able to, can you repeat after me? Can you raise your right hand and repeat after me?
Absolutely.
Okay. I, Kevin Loy, do solemnly swear
I, Kevin Lloyd, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington
and all local ordinances,
and all local ordinances,
and that I will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
I'm sorry about that. The duties of the office of council member at large
the duties of council member at large
for the city of Sedro-Woolley,
for the city of Sedro-Woolley,
Skagit County, Washington,
Skagit County, Washington,
according to law,
according to law,
to the best of my ability and understanding.
to the best of my ability and understanding.
Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Loy, and
Thank you.
welcome to the City Council.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
So you-
council, for making who I consider is the definitely best choice.
All right, thank you, everyone. Again, thank you to all the participants. Again, I think it's says a lot about who you are that you put in your application and went through this process.
And Mayor, Madam Mayor,
And yes,
Councilman Allen,
yes,
just tell all the candidates it may be just a wild race next year for that position.
could be. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And I thank everyone for running. I really do, or putting their name in.
Some really great answers. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night. And we are adjourned. Thank you.